Well, it's interesting too that we've known each other so long, and then to really only now basically have these discussions, right? So when people, when I hear like, why can't we people just get along, but like, when people are sort of trying to figure out like, why are these conversations, why is it so hard to find like common ground, especially now with these things? It's like we've known each other forever. We're super tight friends, right? We talk about anything. And yet this is just, I mean, imagine like going in cold with someone and then trying to take like, I mean, you can't take politics out of it for a lot of people, but like, it's just this, and I think I would certainly hope that it wouldn't, take people like decades of friendship to have these guys, we don't have that kind of time, but like I can imagine how it's hard to move the needle in a good direction without having like all these like shared bonds.
Whenever I hear children crying on airplanes, I always laugh. Been there, done that. Ain't got to worry about that no more. Not that my kids ever cried on airplanes. I laugh because I don't have to carry 2 extra changes of clothing in case they throw up on me, twice. I don't have to walk laps up and down the aisles with restless toddlers. I don't have to carry extra sweaters, blankets, clothes, snacks, books, games, toys, videos, headphones, batteries, socks. I don't have to try to sleep with little feet in my ears and elbows in my boot. I don't have to carefully pack and double check all the children's suitcases and carry-ons so that someone doesn't try to sneak on her triathlon medal in order to test TSA's metal detectors. I'm done. But since that summer that ProPublica released those audio recordings of children crying after being separated from their asylum-seeking parents at the border, when I hear little voices crying on airplanes, all I can think about are the cries of those 5,400 little kids ripped from their parents' arms and shipped on cold metal airplanes across the country to literally who knows where. Cold air blowing on top their heads as they fasten their seatbelts and return their tray tables to the upright position. When all their parents wanted was what every parent wants: asylum, safety, freedom. And here I am, worrying about my 18-year-old daughter, sitting alone, a few rows behind me. And I'm done.
for my part, I also had to learn a different way, especially when it came to our conflicts, right? Well, we have this other cultural thing that we call tampo. You know, it's a delicate feeling of hurt where you withdraw and you expect the other person to read you and to know.
Something else I had to learn about.
Yeah, and I would get so frustrated because you couldn't sense me, right? And we had to work it so I would also learn to speak my hurt.
To be an immigrant is to die before you are allowed to live. We flew over waters, over time zones, over memories, what our lips could keep and made to spit out, what our bags would leave, not carry. Still, you said it was worth the sacrifice, worth being invisible only to stand out, worth gazing down, never up, worth being nameless but marked. The anthem we sang, a silent surrender, but this is not all that we are, we told ourselves. This is not all that we are. To be an immigrant is to chase what refuses you over and over. How do you speak English without breaking it? Is it to let multi-syllabic words flow from our lips without trying, where the tongue presses slightly but firmly to say the TH sound, where the evidence of the native erased? But if fluency is a language perfectly expressed, then care is its highest form. See, my parents train their bodies to speak the language of American, the only way they knew how. Their body torn from decades of labor, from dark and steel factories where name was just a number, to steaming clothes that burned their skin, callous fingertips left with no sensation, their eyes gone bad too soon, from sewing spring break bikinis for kids, demanding perfect hemming for their $200 denim, lungs filled with fumes. Why weren't there warning signs for this kind of work? 35 years of learning to speak American. To be an immigrant is to honor what's yours. For us, when bowing is a sign of mutual honor, gesture of respect, a nod, but not here. So I kept telling them to stop bowing, that even though your tongue won't submit, your body must. Your body must stand facing the sun, not the earth. Not anymore, not here. For us, we take off our shoes and homes. We're not afraid of dirt. We take off our shoes to protect the space we enter, yours and ours. To be an immigrant is to rebuild what was taken, that even memories can be martyred. When you ask us to change our names or shamelessly pin a nickname on us, like you're doing us a favor, you tell us we can make friends at school or land that interview, that job, that we can appear more friendly, approachable. Soon enough, we learned you were not for us. But that can change. We've learned yours, twisting and turning our tongues, practicing in our sleep not to miss a vowel or two. Now it's your turn to learn our names. What's in our names, you ask? In our names are the stories of our mothers and fathers, their mothers and fathers. To say our names is not to be erased. What does it mean to be relevant when only our pain and suffering makes the headlines? Must it take #StopAsianHate to be visible, to be seen, and for what? If a person's worth, its inheritance, then mere existence, the presence, the breath, is enough to be worthy. We are worthy because we are beautiful. We are worthy because we exist. We are worthy because we are. To be an immigrant is to create, is to imagine and reimagine. In our home, Amma forges the food we eat. I used to be embarrassed by this act of searching for food where people hike and picnic, not in the grocery aisles like most families. Later, I will see this as creativity and incredible skill. Amma forges the most decadent Korean vegetables, while others pull what they see as dead. We eat what they can't have and what we've created. In our home, Appa heals our colds, headaches, even a sprained ankle, with pins and needles, bringing the flow of energy back to the body, while we quickly drink a dark liquid that stains our tongue and forces our lips to perk up tight from the bitterness. This too is medicine, Appa says. What I saw as strange became magic, creation. Suddenly, I was holding a secret to why I rarely get sick. Some may think the work of a seamstress is just another trade job, but I have witnessed Amma turn an oversized white satin and lace into one that is made for the bride's body from head to toe with precision, including my own. To make beauty out of sheets of cotton is art. I used to see immigrants, including my family, as second-class citizens. But if we can send our kids to the best of schools, paid with our broken English, and create art and music through the stories we tell to each other, then to be an immigrant is to create life. With strength that moves mountains, with resilience poured from our ancestors, and courage that only relentless love can give through communion. And love, a love that never breaks.
There was a group of kids when I was in high school that flew this really gigantic Confederate flag around our school. And I remember they used to interrogate me and they would interrogate other people. And it was really scary because it was that feeling of kind of like, as soon as you leave the house, and this is something that I went to an adoption heritage camp not too long ago. And we talked about this to other white parents who adopt children of other ethnicities. You may raise your child one way in every possible shape and form with all the love and care, but you have to understand that the minute they leave your house, they're not seen as your children. They're seen as a BIPOC person, as an LGBT person. They're seen completely different. I just remember like that feeling of like needing to belong was definitely something that kind of felt off. Now, I'm just speaking for myself. I don't speak for all adoptees by any means. But it was just that feeling of kind of like, you know, you're not white enough to be white, but because of how I look, I was always like, where are you from? You're so exotic. Are you from the area? And I'm like, I live at 29 Mile Road. I had people touching my hair. I had people...
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I remember one kid was just coming.
It's November 7th, 2021. I couldn't sleep the night before. I call my mom at 7 in the morning, asking if I can come over. I get to my parents' house. My mom opens the door and asks if I'm okay. All I can get out is no. And I'm just crying, and she hugs me, and she's just holding me while I'm crying. After a little while, I manage to get out. It's really over. Me and Jane are over. My mom is a Filipino mom. She wants me to be well-fed, no matter what's going on. She makes me my favorite breakfast, scrambled egg with tomato and mushroom, rice. We're sitting at the kitchen table, and I continue. I ended it, and I still love her. She says, "This was a long time coming. You had to decide when to end it. I know it's hard." And it was hard. I met Jane on Bumble during COVID. This was the start of summer of 2020. Just before we could all get vaccinated, that meant a lot of Zoom dates, a lot of just talking. On one, we're just sharing childhood stories, and I tell her about how when I was little, I loved to play pretend, and I'd ask my mom to play pretend too. Some days, the kitchen was a diner. The living room was a grocery store. I could be Darkwing Duck, jumping from couch to couch. But one of my favorite characters to pretend to be was the Pink Panther. The animal, not the detective. To become the Pink Panther, I'd take this hot pink shoelace that I had and stick it through the back belt loop of my pants and just kind of run around, not really caring about anything. Except one day my parents saw me doing this in public, and in that exasperated hushed whisper that parents have, were like, "What is that?" Embarrassed. They said I couldn't do it anymore. I got in trouble. So I stopped, and the Pink Panther never came out again. Jane and I, the first time we meet in person for a date, we go to a park. It's now late summer. We're walking through these gardens, and she stops and says, "I have a gift for you." I feel terrible. I have nothing for her. What's she gonna give me? She smiles, and she asks me to open up my hand, and she takes this thing out of her bag and puts it in my hand. I take a closer look, and it's a hot pink shoelace. And she looks at me with these big hazel eyes, and she says, "No one should ever have to lose their childhood." My heart is racing, and it's also melting. I'm in disbelief about how thoughtful this girl is. I say, "Thank you. It's an amazing gift." And I put it in my pocket. The next few months, we get closer. Lots of Zoom conversations lasting hours. She likes poetry and shares her works in progress with me. I'm a songwriter, and anytime I write something that I think is all right, I sing it and play it into my phone and share it with her. We become supportive of each other too. Near the end of summer, I tell her, I'm going to do it. I'm going to come out and leave the church I've been working at for 7 years as a music director. I have this letter that I've written that I want to read. I've had it for months. She wants to help me. And so on a Zoom, she helps me practice. I take out the letter and I read it to her out loud. And I read it fine. But I still wonder, what if I can't go through with it? It's okay, she says. This is something you've been working toward for a long time. You can do this. I've grown up Christian, religious schools, from preschool through high school. After I graduated college, I got hired to work at a Filipino church part-time as their music director. It was a job that I sometimes couldn't believe was a job. When I'd conduct the choir on Sundays, one of my favorite things was to look out and see them get so animated singing. Leading worship, I loved looking out on the congregation, seeing people sing so earnestly. The problem was, I was closeted. After so many years of hiding who I was, I couldn't take the self-erasure anymore. Back when I started there, I was dating a different girl, and I do these small things to hide the real me. At rehearsal, I'd turn over my phone on my music stand to hide the picture of us on my lock screen. When someone asked what I did on the weekend, instead of saying, "Oh, I watched a movie with my girlfriend," I'd just say, "Oh, I watched a movie." Little moments like that eat at your sense of self. During the pandemic, I saw a window to come out to the pastor and his wife and finally resign. On an afternoon in August, I meet with them. We're in the fellowship hall in the church basement. We make small talk, and I tell them, I need to share something. I pull out the coming out letter, and I read it, just like I'd practiced with Jane. I finish reading, and I look up, and the pastor's wife is crying. It hits her, and it hits me. This is real. I am leaving. After a few moments, she says, "It must have been hard for you to be sitting in the pews." And she's talking about the times the pastor had sermons that were anti-same-sex marriage. She tells me, "I have a relative that's gay, and I love this person, but my family and I can't accept their lifestyle." The pastor looks like he's not quite sure what to say. He eventually says, "We love you with the love of the Lord." But he goes on saying, "We believe in God's plan for heterosexual marriage." And there it was, this example of how love can hurt. It's the "I love you, but" that says part of you is unacceptable and that supporting you goes against a deeply held personal conviction. I ask for my last Sunday to be in 2 weeks. I don't want to come out to everyone, just the two of them. My mom would have me shout it from the rafters, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. My last Sunday there, it's a relief, but it's also sad to say goodbye. I've worked there for 7 years. The people there are like my family. This is a place where I don't refer to people like this is Mr. or Mrs. so-and-so. I call them my titos and my titas like they're my aunts and uncles. And in my mind, as the service is going on, I'm telling myself, this is the last time I'll stand on the altar. This is the last time I'm going to lead worship. This is the last time we'll sing together. After the service is done, the worship team and the choir sing me songs, and they're all so sweet. And as I'm pulling out of the parking lot, it feels so bittersweet. Yes, I am finally free to be more me, but I'm also really losing something. After leaving, I realized for the first time in my adult life, I really have a choice. What kind of faith community do I want to be a part of? I can find out where I truly belong. Find a place that can accept all of me and not just part of me. I also start to take a hard look at the Christian beliefs I grew up with. If people were wrong about the whole being gay being a sin thing, what else were they wrong about? And I think that's a good place to rest, but Jane really challenges me on a lot of what I think about religion. And as we talk more, it becomes more obvious that she is just not good with where I'm at. We break up the first time because I don't know what to do with Jesus. But we don't want to lose each other completely, so we agree to try to be friends. But that just makes things worse for me. A few months pass, we start catching up in person, And we do this a couple of times, but each time I see her, my feelings just come rushing back. I reach a point where I have to tell her. We're at a park, walking down the path, just catching up, and then she tells me she's starting to see someone new. Immediately, I feel a sharp, clawing pain in my chest. And it's all I can do to say, "That's great." Inside, I tell myself, I gotta say what I need to say right now. I tell her I want to talk to her about something. We find a swing set to sit at. I tell her I haven't really let her in on how my spiritual journey is going because it was so tied to our breakup. I tell her I can feel a shift in my beliefs, but I'm still figuring out what Christianity means to me, what to do with Jesus. To her, Jesus is just a man. Christianity is not for her, and she knows that. She says we can't work because she can't give me that kind of freedom to explore. And she wants to give this new person a chance. I confess some other things, that I'm still in love with her. I can't just be her friend. And I'm feeling so stuck while she's moving on. I need a real separation. I tell her, I love you, but I need to love myself too. She realizes this is the real goodbye, and she starts to cry. She says she loves me too, but this is probably the right thing to do. I get up to hug her. We've known each other for almost a year and a half. And this is the first time we've actually held each other, just as we're saying goodbye. Yes, I loved her and she loved me, but we just don't fit. We need different things. My mom is still listening. She says the love was real. You did the right thing, that it always hurts when it ends. 7 years ago, when I came out to my mom, she accepted me, but it wasn't like flipping a light switch. For 2 years after I told her, she struggled, asking God why I had to be gay. She didn't tell me that, though, until later. This is the same woman who wanted to raise hell at the people at the church I left for being unaffirming, who would now tell anyone there's nothing wrong with who I am or who I want to love. I remember that I wrote lyrics for a song a few days before, a song that's about love ending. In my heart, I know it needs to be in Tagalog, the national dialect of the Philippines. I actually don't speak Tagalog, but I can sing some songs in it. When I do sing in it, I feel more me, like I can be as earnest as I want to be. I pick up a guitar lying around the house. And I sit at the kitchen table. I show my mom the lyrics on my phone and ask if she can translate them for me. Without hesitation, she gets out a piece of notebook paper and a pen and starts to translate me and my pain onto the page. Over the course of 7 years, my mom has battled her own doubt, her own set beliefs from growing up Catholic. Because of love, she really sees me, and I feel seen. Over those 7 years, she's become a champion for me, her gay daughter. And that morning at the kitchen table, she became my co-writer. She shows me the translation after she's done and says each line out loud so I can hear how to pronounce the words. I sit with the lyrics in front of me for a bit. I try putting together bits of the verse and chorus as they come to me. She switches a word here and there so it's easier for me to sing. And back and forth it goes until I'm able to sing it all the way through the way that I like it. She titles the song Buksan ang pusong nasaktan, which means open a broken heart. And when I feel like I finally got it, I sing it through a couple times. She tears up and she tells me it's beautiful. Ang ating pag-ibig manatili sa akin kahit anong mangyari. Ang mga bituin ay liliwanag kahit ipikit ko ang aking mga mata. Binigyan mo ako ng liwanag para mabuhay, para yakaping hantadhana. Sa kabuuan niya, binigyan mo kaya ako ng gabay sa buhay. Kahit wala na tayo sa isa't isa, manatili ka sa aking alaala na ang pusong nasaktan. Balang araw mabubuksan. Kahit wala na tayo sa isa't isa, manatili ka sa aking alaala na ang pusong nasaktan. Balang araw mabubuksan.
The things that you're telling me now, these were all shocking to us because you never verbalized those things, and it never occurred to us that you were thoughtfully, expressing your desires. So yeah, we bumped heads, and I'm a little strong-headed, and I think you took that after me. You were really.
Well, I mean, like, once I finally decided to speak up, but it was like, again, trying to honor you and Mom and your wishes, but at the same time, like, that breaking point was having to do those things that I didn't want to do.
Yeah, but you did it anyway, right?
Yes.
Because why?
Because trying to make you happy, right? So I felt like it wasn't what I was supposed to do, and it's something I felt that I had to do.
When our love is great, our grief is greater. And with this grief, we do what we know how to do. We love by taking care of each other. We rest by taking care of each other. We grieve by taking care of each other. We hope by taking care of each other. We take care of ourselves by taking care of each other. When we don't know what to do, we turn to love.
In 2019, the call went out for 10,000 tsuru, or paper origami cranes. Diagonal fold, unfold, turn, diagonal fold, unfold, flip. Cranes live for 1,000 years, folding 1,000 paper cranes, one for each year of its life, grants one wish. Senbazuru. We folded 1,000 cranes for Uncle Ray's 60th birthday and hung them in long strands from the ceiling to wish him a long life. We folded 1,000 cranes for Mika's friend's wedding to wish the couple a long, happy marriage. We also folded cranes in Chinese and Taiwanese language school. 12-year-old Sadako Sasaki of Hiroshima folded 1,000 cranes with a wish to be cured of leukemia caused by the Americans' atomic bomb dropped on her city when she was 2. When she was not cured, she folded 300 more. Children today fold and send thousands of cranes to Hiroshima each year. You can see her statue holding a golden crane at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum, and in Seattle too. Horizontal fold, unfold, turn. Horizontal fold, unfold, diamond fold. In 2019, families were detained at America's southern border, and children were being separated from their parents. The Japanese American community stood up and said, "Never again is now." Tsuru for Solidarity called for 10,000 tsuru, or origami paper cranes, and received 25,000 from around the country and around the world. Japanese American organizations and Buddhist temples across the country organized tsuru paper crane folding parties. People folded tsuru at home with their children and grandchildren out of historic photographs and wrote messages of hope inside. A bride, happily married now for 40 years, donated the 1,000 golden cranes her friends had folded her as a wedding gift. Here in Michigan, folks at Washtenaw Community College, Ann Arbor District Library, Ann Arbor Art Center, Detroit Historical Museum folded too. A box of tsuru was hand-carried from Hiroshima. Squash fold, flip, repeat. These delicate paper birds carry heavy wishes on their wings for peace, nonviolence, and hope. connecting the incarceration of 120,000 Japanese Americans in concentration camps during World War II, 2/3 of whom were American citizens. The atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 110,000 to 220,000 dead, and 650,000 hibakusha, sick with radiation poisoning. And the long journeys of immigrants and refugees from around the world seeking a life free of war and poverty. The beauty and power of culture, heritage, art, and community action. Taiko drums pounded, don doro don don, as 25,000 tsuru flew to Crystal City Family Internment Camp in Texas, where 4,000 people of Japanese, German, and Italian descent were incarcerated during World War II. Then they flew to the South Texas Family Residential Center in Dilley. 25,000 tsuru circled the fence, and taiko drums called out to the people inside, ka ka kara kara don, so that they would know that people outside were standing up for them, speaking out, and fighting for them. We intend to be the allies that we needed then. Now, with the lifting of Title 42 and COVID pandemic restrictions at the border, many desperate families are once again heading for the safety and dream of America, who sings to them, "Give me, you're tired, you're poor." Like our elders, they will risk anything for their children. Tsuru for Solidarity calls on all of us to remember and to act. This is not ancient history. Never again is now. Don doro don don, ka ka kara kara don. It's Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and I am struggling with work, struggling with family, struggling with hope. I come out from my COVID cocoon and go to the library to hear an elder talk about her experiences in Rohr concentration camp in Arkansas, her strategies for handling the racists and bullies at Ford in the 50s and 60s, and how she continues to stand up and fight well into her 90s. I think of my grandfather, a famous 4-star general in Chiang Kai-shek's Air Force, who flew the last plane out of China in 1949. After the war, he opened a small sandwich shop in Niagara Falls, saying, "I just want peace." Pull out the long neck, pull out the tail, press the head, open the wings, puff of air.